Where is Tinubu? Kidnappers on a rampage in Abuja. Where is Tinubu? Nigerians, look at this headline that says that Wike is busy dancing in Rivers State while kidnappers are let loose in Abuja. There have been so many headlines on kidnapping in Abuja. That is the FCT. I mean, the FCT. It is being taken over by kidnappers. Where are we heading to as a country? Take a look at this headline. Even Amnesty International is concerned about what is happening in Nigeria. So you can imagine if Peter Obi were to be the president of this country. Honestly, things must have changed long ago. Peter Obi is a man of action. Listen to what this ex-general said about Peter Obi. It will shock you.
His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi in Onitsha, about 17 years ago as a commanding officer. Before he came to Onitsha to take over from Dr. Chris Ngige, during the time of Chris Ngige, there was no Operation Mesa in the whole of Anambra State, for reasons best known to them then. But when he came, he took over. He drove straight to the barrack and asked. And when we briefed him, he now went back and Operation Mesa was restored a week later or thereabout. As at that time, it was like a no man's land in Onitsha. 33 you cannot go. Ogbaru you cannot go. Then talk less of the other areas. When it was restored, I was the officer in charge of the internal security operations. I was collocated with artillery regiment, but as a commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel, I was in charge of the operations. Believe me, within 2 weeks or thereabout, everything was tackled. Onitsha became free. You couldn't go out. The police was sacked. And that was why I believe that after about 6 months to 1 year, the police actually acknowledged that Anambra was a peaceful, most peaceful state in the country as at that time. So that was where I knew him. And I saw the character of integrity. In short, for me, I was calling him Commissioner of Defense, because he was in command and in control. He had the interest. And I said, this man, he does not allow the resources that comes to the military or whatever to pass through anybody straight. Our challenge was patrol vehicles, no mobility. In a sweep, when he said, what is the problem? He provided it immediately. Following his record, I have worked with His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi in Onitsha, about 17 years ago as a commanding officer.
So for those who keep saying, what did Peter Obi achieve in Anambra? What did Peter Obi achieve in Anambra? I want you to equally look at this video. Just listen for yourself so that you know that Peter Obi is not just being praised. He really worked for Anambra State.
Federal allocation to the states are dropping. I want them to drop even further so that greedy politicians will not want to run for office, and only the more credible ones will want to run. A perfect example of my hypothesis is Anambra State. Recently, I urged other states to learn how to diversify and be less reliant on oil, proceeds, and federal allocations. I said despite not having oil in commercial quantity, Anambra State did not seek the federal government bailout, and the state still pays its workers on time. Furthermore, the state has made the best improvement in education because of its massive investments in that sector. After I made this statement, Anambra State further vindicated me by becoming the first and only Nigerian state that exports vegetables to Europe in commercial quantity. Presently, Anambra exports $5 million worth of vegetables to Europe. The profit from that venture goes directly to its own treasury. But the peculiar thing about Anambra is that it has one of the highest population densities in Nigeria and suffers from massive land erosion, leaving it with very little arable farmland. Now, if Anambra, with limited land, is exporting food to Europe, then larger states have no excuse for being dependent on federal government allocation. What is it that Anambra has that other states do not have? They have more land than Anambra. They have more people than Anambra. They have received more from the federal government than Anambra. I will tell you what Anambra has, and Anambra has good leadership. Followers find fault. Leaders find solution, while great leaders find both. Anambra is an example for what can happen if we quit blaming each other and start aiming at solutions. And that is why I want federal allocations to drop so that all states will attract the type of leadership that Anambra currently has. My name is Ben Murray Bruce, and I just want to make common sense.
In the company of numerous heavily armed security agents, stormed the compound of a notorious criminal suspect, Olisa Ifejika, said to have specialized in armed robbery and kidnapping, to carry out an action that will linger in the memory of the people.
This state the law that if your property is used for this criminal activity, the state will confiscate the property, will demolish the property, and this particular property represents the worst of it.
The demolition followed the arrest of the suspect and the recovery of assaulted arms and ammunition hidden in plastic containers concealed behind the bungalow. The Anambra State Commissioner of Police said Mr. Ifejika had been on the list of most wanted criminal suspects in 2001 and linked to a series of high-profile crimes including armed robbery and kidnapping.
The following arms and ammunition were recovered from an underground armory in his house. Number 1, 27 AK-47 rifles, 1 K2 rifle, 2 Type 06 rifles, 1 general purpose machine gun, 1 rocket launcher, 17 rockets, 6 pump actions gun, 3 den guns, 1 Beretta pistol, 13 rocket grenades.
The governor appears set to see the suspect's business empire crumble completely.
We will go after his businesses. We will go after the business of all that is involved in this criminality. I heard he operates a hotel in Omaya. When I get back to the office now, I'm going to contact my senior brother in Omaya and request that that hotel be sealed.
The demolished structures comprise a bungalow, a 2-story building, and an extended building behind the bungalow, suspected to be a cell where kidnapped victims were kept in custody. The building had initially been partly razed. The state governor, Mr. Peter Obi, in the company of numerous heavily armed security agents, stormed the compound of a notorious criminal suspect, Olisa Ifejika, said to have initially been partly razed by the police during the operation that led to the arrest of the suspect. The police confirmed he was in his residence drinking at the time of arrest at about 8 a.m. on Monday, September 3rd. The suspect's father is a native doctor, while his mother is a petty trader dealing in women's underwear. Both are currently in police custody. Some of the villagers said the suspect started with petty pilfering, then to community theft, before going full blast on sophisticated banditry. They commended the government for the bold step taken to rid the state of crime.
We're indigenous of this very town, but we don't even know that this kind of thing is happening here. But since we have noticed, we are very happy to see the policemen, even the governor himself is here present, and the commissioner of police to witness what is happening here. So we're very happy.
Where government did the package very well.
2 earth-moving machines were not enough to cool down the buildings, and then the excavator descended on the story building like the owner would on his victims, tearing apart the roof, pulling down the walls, and knocking down the stubborn beams. The governor had these words for the youth.
We have money given to people to go into agriculture, microcredit. We have various forms of microcredit. SMEs are being given loans to Bank of Industry. We're doing everything possible to ensure, and there's so many things people can do. This state is lack of tilers, bricklayers, everything. And we're urging people to get into purposeful life. We can no longer continue this way of life.
Advice also came from the State Commissioner for Youth and Sports while using the avenue to highlight government's efforts in championing youth affairs.
Youths have to come out of their shells. They should stop going to look at people who have made it. They should look at what reasonable things to do for themselves. You'll be able to engage yourself in something serious. If you are hardworking, you must get something to do. We have a lot of programs for the youths to learn trade. There's so many things to learn. People don't want to go and do carpentry again. People don't want to do plumbing. People don't want to do fashion design. People don't want.
His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi in Onitsha, about 17 years ago as a commanding officer. Before he came to Onitsha to take over from Dr. Chris Ngige, during the time of Chris Ngige, there was no Operation Mesa in the whole of Anambra State, for reasons best known to them then. But when he came, he took over. He drove straight to the barrack and asked. And when we briefed him, he now went back and Operation Mesa was restored a week later or thereabout. As at that time, it was like a no man's land in Onitsha. 33 you cannot go. Ogbaru you cannot go. Then talk less of the other areas. When it was restored, I was the officer in charge of the internal security operations. I was collocated with artillery regiment, but as a commanding officer, Lieutenant Colonel, I was in charge of the operations. Believe me, within 2 weeks or thereabout, everything was tackled. Onitsha became free. You couldn't go out. The police was sacked. And that was why I believe that after about 6 months to 1 year, the police actually acknowledged that Anambra was a peaceful, most peaceful state in the country as at that time. So that was where I knew him. And I saw the character of integrity. In short, for me, I was calling him Commissioner of Defense, because he was in command and in control. He had the interest. And I said, this man, he does not allow the resources that comes to the military or whatever to exude to pass through anybody straight. Our challenge was patrol vehicles, no mobility. In a sweep, when he said, what is the problem? He provided it immediately. Following his record, I have worked with His Excellency Mr. Peter Obi in Onitsha about 17 years ago as a commanding officer.
So guys, you can imagine if Peter Obi was to be the president of Nigeria, if Peter Obi was in charge of this nation, honestly, all these headlines that has to do with insecurity, you won't be hearing it, because Peter Obi took a very bold step. Even in Anambra State, he demolished the houses of, kidnappers and all that without any fear. Peter Obi is a man of action. But look at the government we are having currently. The headlines are there, and it appears we don't even have a commander-in-chief. I mean, nobody is marshalling orders, to all these security agent chiefs. Nobody is talking, and that is why Nigerians are the one paying through their noses. And the new trend is that these bandits, they are good at demanding very huge amounts of money. They talk in millions. These are people that never went to school. Some of them never went to even primary school. But today they mention millions of naira, and Nigerians are forced to pay. If you don't pay, your life is gone. And you can imagine, even after demanding for 60 million, they still went ahead to kill one of the people in their hands. So guys, you can see the kind of nation we are into, and that is why we are calling for a new Nigeria. We need a new Nigeria we all can be proud of. This country is becoming something else. So if you're a patriotic Nigerian, you have to lend your voice in calling for a new Nigeria, because we know a new Nigeria is possible. A Nigeria we all can be proud of. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. So guys, you don't expect anything to happen under this administration, honestly. Tinubu is eyeing 2027, and for him to dislodge these terrorists, he will feel, the northerners will not give him that support, because we know that the northerners, they've not really come hard on these terrorists. But look at what they are doing in the country today. So guys, you can see that Peter Obi remains that one unique leader we all can be proud of. I mean, Peter Obi is different from a typical Nigerian politician. Look at what is happening today in the country, the insecurity all over the places. But do you know what? This administration is not doing anything because they want to protect their political interests. They are interested in coming back in 2027. So they don't really want to do things, in a different way, so that possibly they are afraid the northerners may not vote for them. So you can imagine where the interests of these politicians are more important to them than the interests of the Nigerian people. You can see the headlines. It's all over the places. I mean, banditry everywhere, terrorism everywhere. And it's as if we don't even have a government in town. We don't have anybody as the commander-in-chief. That is the kind of nation that you have, where you have corrupt leaders who are just after their own interests. And that is why we keep saying we can't wait to have people like Peter Obi. Nigeria must return to its path to glory. Nigeria must return to its path to success, because we must be proud of this nation. So guys, that is it. You can see even Amnesty International is equally concerned about what is happening in Nigeria, because as it stands now, it is getting out of hand. People are meant to pay through their noses. I told you guys that about 6 to 7 NYC members, Nigerians who were going to serve in Zamfara state were kidnapped. Up to today, they are still in their captors' hand. Nobody has gone to pay for their ransom. And I tell you, this government is not even behaving as if anything like that happened. And these are the things you should look at and make up your mind and say 2027, we must retire these politicians. Let me know what you think about this. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others. Thank you.